Hey, Winfrey Youth. You get to hear from me today in terms of we're going to, one, make some delicious food, which hopefully you have all the right ingredients at home, and we're also going to learn a lesson at the same time. So today we're going to hear about a story from the Gospel of Mark. So I'm hoping each of you has maybe heard about the man who was possessed by demons that Jesus came and talked to. One could say he was a little bananas, pun totally intended. So he was obviously like all over the map, right? If you look at the Gospel of Mark and you were looking at this man who Jesus kind of came in contact with, he was just pretty crazy. He would kind of hold himself up in different places like a cave and things of that nature, and he was just completely outside of the community. Like everything was crazy about his life. And so we're going to talk about like what does that mean, and like how could God use that and use circumstances in your own life, and how does that tie in with like this cool food that we're going to make today. So first of all, his life was pretty broken, right? Similar to these bananas here, he had a lot of bruises, he had a lot of things that were showing. So people who might have interacted with him were like, I don't know if I want to be around this person. And when Jesus came, one of the things that he did was he kind of like looked at the different bruises that this person had, which were evident in the way that he communicated, the way he lived, everything about his life. And in one way, he was kind of like tied up with all the sin and actually being possessed by demons. In fact, it says they called themselves Legion because there were just so many of them that had taken over. And Jesus still kind of looked past that and restored this man and was able to take the demons out of him. And the really awesome part of the story that I want to connect directly with what we're going to make today is that through this whole process, Jesus found those bruises and used it as a way to like transform not only that person, but his entire community. And so at the kind of end of the story, after the man has been healed by Jesus, what we learn next is the man was just like thrilled. He's so excited. His life has been restored. He's kind of got all of his sanity back. And he says, "Hey, Jesus, can I come with you?" And Jesus says no. And you're like, wait, hold on a second. Like, why does Jesus say no? So the cool thing is like Jesus knew the most impact that this man could make was actually on the community that he had been a part of. People who knew his story, people who knew what he came from, that knew all these bruises and like this kind of torn and restructured life, and like could actually experience the changes and see those changes for themselves. And so I'm sure each of you have different things you could point to in your life that may be different bruises. They might be things that like, I'd rather not show anybody. I know for me personally, one of the things that I struggled with when I was a lot younger was the music I listened to. And I'm not saying all secular music or non-Christian music is bad. For me in particular, one of the things that was really hard for me was the music I listened to had a lot of cursing or different language that wasn't good, and it would feed into my brain. And whether I realized it or not, it affected the way I talked, it affected the way I acted, and that came out to the people around me. And that was like just one of many bruises that I had. But the way, once I actually had a friend who was another believer, and he introduced me to some other music like KJ52, and he was like, "Hey, this guy sounds like Eminem, you should like check him out, because I know you're listening to all this rap stuff." And I was like, all right, I'll finally check it out. And so after I did that, I started being like, oh, this is cool music. And I just listened to it because I liked it. I didn't listen to it because I was like, oh, I need to listen to something else. But I started to realize like I was changing, my attitude was changing, the way I talked was changing. And God has used that as a way to like transform who I am, what I listen to, even my behavior and my mannerisms. And he's used that as like a way to plant experiences in others around me who observe those same behaviors and those same changes. Specifically people I know, and it's helped lead other people to become believers and transform their lives as well. So what I would ask of each of you is to kind of examine some of the bruises you may have in your life, see how can God transform those into something sweet and delicious like what we're going to make that can really improve not only your life, but the lives of those around you.